welcome back to another Python tutorial video, and in this video we'll be talking about strings and tuples. Now if you recall, in a previous video we talked about strings, okay, but we're going to concentrate on tuples. But meanwhile, I have to refresh your memory on strings and some strings operation in Python, and then we'll move on to tuples. So what are strings? So strings are sequence of characters, okay. So for example, you have a print statement that says print, okay. Sorry, let me just erase this off and write that properly. So it has to be in small letters, remember guys. So you have a print statement here, and it just prints hello world to screen, for instance, right? Prints hello world to screen. Now this right here, this hello world right here, is actually a string. So I'll just show you what I mean. So this hello world right here is a string, okay. Now there are some operations you can perform on a string. For example, first things first, let's create a variable. For example, we'll call this variable a, right? I need to use my white pen, sorry. So switch back my white pen, okay, and then we'll call this variable a, for instance, and variable a, we can set variable a to a string called hello, okay, and then we have a variable b, for instance, here, and then we can set a variable b, this equal sign guys, a variable b to world, okay. Now remember guys, there are some operations we can do on this string, okay. We can do mathematical operations, for example addition and multiplication, and when you perform an addition operation on a string, for example you say a plus b, okay, what this will do is it will just join or concatenate, okay. So it will just join, so the word is join, or you can call it concatenate, okay. It will join or concatenate the two strings. So these strings, if you do a plus b, you would get hello world like this, okay, printed to your console, and we would go into our IDE and try out all these things I'm talking about. So that is for addition. Now for multiplication, you can multiply these two strings as well. And how do you do that? You can say you can multiply a number and a string, so to print the string several times to console. For example, you can say 3, right, times, okay, times a, and what this will give you, if you guessed hello outputted 3 times, you are right. So you get hello, hello, and hello, okay. So you can do that. Now you can find you can use index to find specific characters in a string, okay. So for example, you want to get h here, you can just do a, and then you use this square bracket and you put 0, so the index number. So h is going to take 0, e is going to take 1, o is going to take 2, 3, and 4 respectively. So this would simply give you h, okay. This will simply give you h, and all these are also still going to be strings, okay. Now what else can you do with a string? You can use the dot replace method to replace specific characters, or even just replace the entire string completely. So how do you do that? Now you can just say a dot replace, right? You can say a dot replace, and then you have the particular string you want to replace and the new string you want it to be replaced with. For example, I can just say a dot replace h, okay, and I can say a dot replace h with another string called bing, okay, and then I close this. Now when I do this, h is going to be replaced with bing, so you have bing hello outputted to string if you print that out, okay. Now these are some of the operations you can perform on strings, okay, and we go and we see them in the command prompt right now, okay. So I'm simply going to fire up my command prompt, right? and I'll just open get into my desktop first, and then I would open my code template, which I always use in Visual Studio Code. So having done this, like we said, if you want to define a string, I'm going to define a variable called a, right? And I'm going to have this variable being set to a string called hello, okay? And then over here I'm going to call another variable b, okay? And then I'll have this set to a string called world, okay? So now on the next line, I would have I'll start performing the operations on the string as we saw in the whiteboard or the blackboard session, okay? So on the blackboard, we had the first thing we said we can concatenate string, or we can join to string using the addition operation. So if we use a print statement and we say print a, right, plus b, and we save that, and I'm not going to open up the command prompt. You can simply click on terminal and click new terminal, right? And I'll just show you what this outputs as immediately on this new terminal. What I just have to do is you can use the same command prompt commands that we use, and you can run your code by saying python code.py, and you hit enter, and you see that yes, the strings are being joined together, okay? So if you print a plus b, you have that joined together. Now in the same way, if you print 3, for example, and times this star sign a, and you save that, okay? Remember, a is a variable now. So if I come here and let me just clear that and run this code, and you see just exactly in the blackboard section we have hello 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 printed to screen. Now if you want a space, you can easily just add a space here and just save that. So we come back here, clear this, and we run the program once again, and fair enough, you have hello world with a space and hello hello hello. So this makes it easy for you to just read and understand. Now what else can we do on a string? You can actually use the replace method to replace, you know, the entire string, or replace specific characters in a string. Remember, a string is just a sequence of characters. So I can do something that says print, right, and then you use the a, for instance, dot, okay? So you have a whole lot of methods available to the string, and you can easily come in here. If you're using a Visual Studio Code, you're supposed to get something like this if your code is properly set up the way ours is set up, okay? Now if you click on the replace, you see that you even have like an intelligence that is telling you exactly what to do. So what do you do with replace method? Now the first parameter is expecting is the particular string you want to replace it with. So I'll say h, for instance, like we did in the blackboard session, and I'll replace this with the word Bing and just save this up. So when I save this and come back to my terminal and clear this first, so you have you can see it properly, and then on the last line which we are printing here, we have Bing hello. So we've replaced the h, right, with the word Bing. Now so this is like just a reminder, a summary of what strings is all about. So you've seen strings now. On the next blackboard section in this video, we're going to talk about tuples, how they relate with string, and the differences that you need, and when can you use tuples as against using strings, okay? So remember one more thing before we go to our blackboard section. You can actually save hello world as a string, just separating it with spaces, right? So you have hello world. This is treated as a single object, okay, which is a string, okay? Now you can also check the type of, remember, let me just do this last one. So print, and then you have type of a, so type, and then you have a, okay? If you save that up, and you come here again and clear this and just run this code, and then you have class string. So it's telling us A is a class, A is a string. Okay, so that's what it's telling us. Now let's quickly go back to the blackboard, and then we'll talk about tuples. Come back to this our code, our Visual Studio Code IDE, and then we run some explanations on tuples. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to open our blackboard once again, and let me just add a new page, and of course start talking about tuples. Right, so tuples. Now supposing you want to save names, for instance, right? You want to save names and you want to have a way to index those names. If you use a string, right, and you save the names, you create a variable called names, and you are using a string to save these names. Now what you do is you have the name of the first person, John, for instance. You can easily separate the next person's name with a space. Okay, so maybe the next person's name is Innocent, for instance. Okay, and maybe another person's name is Samuel, for instance, and you have these three names. Now you can easily separate the names with space, and then maybe you can manipulate and index each of these names. Now, but what if you have a problem on your hands whereby you want to really just save the name and the surname? Now using strings becomes a problem in this case, because if you have a name, for instance, or names, and then maybe the first name is John, right, and the surname is Ola, so John Ola, right? Now what you have here is the fact that you have John Ola, you have a space here, okay, and then you have a new string, for instance, and you write that again. So once you do this, you would have, for example, the next person's name is Samuel Peters, and so on. So this is one person's name and this is another person's name. Now when you start to save data like this, you see that you encounter a problem. So how do we solve this? Tuples to the rescue, guys. Now let me just erase this quickly, and then we talk about tuples, how you can use tuples to solve such a problem. Okay, so tuples. Now this is how we're going to do that using tuples. So we have names, right, and then we say equal to or equals, and we now create the tuples. So you create the tuples by putting the tuples in these brackets, opening and closing brackets, and then you write the tuples. So the name of the first tuples is going to be a string, for instance, and you have John Peters. So this is the first name, okay, and you have Samuel Box, for instance. This is the second name, and you have another comma, and so on and so forth, and you keep saving the names like this. So once you actually create when you want to create a tuples, you have to put them in these brackets. Okay, you have to use these brackets, opening and closing braces, and then you have to put a comma after each name. Now note, you can save any kind of data and any combination of data in a tuple. So for example, if S is a variable I've created, I can save a tuple like by saying 2, 3, 4, and I can also save a string in the same tuple. So I can save a string, for example, hello, in the same tuple. I can also save a float point. Any data goes in a tuple, really. I can even save a tuple as well in a tuple, okay, 2, 6, right, and so on and so forth. So I can just write one more, a string, and then I close that. Okay, so I can do this, and I'll show you exactly how you can start working with tuples you can use the addition and the multiplication operation in a tuples, and you can also use the replace as well in a tuple, and I'll show you everything how you can work with tuples in the IDE, in the Visual Studio Code IDE. So let's open up our IDE once again and let's see exactly how the tuples work. So we're back to our IDE, guys, and the first thing we want to do really is just clear this up. Okay, so just clear this up. We'll also clear this, and then we start talking about tuples. So I'm going to really just create tuples. So I'll call the first tuple A. Okay, and I'll create a tuple which is going to be a variable A, and I will assign a hello to the first tuple. Now the next tuple is going to be called B, and B is going to be a string, okay, a string with the value world, and you remember to add your comma. And the last tuple is going to be C. Now C is going to be a sort of a complex tuple within tuples within tuples. So C is going to take on the first value 2, okay, and then it's going to take on one more integer, and then it's going to next take on a string. So the string is going to be a boy, for instance, and then it's going to take on a tuple. So that's a tuple within a tuple, which is going to be 2, and then it's going to come out 3. Okay, now the next value is going to be a tuple once again, so 2, and then for example 5. Okay, so we've used 2 and 3, so let's change 2 and 3 to maybe 6, and maybe a variable, okay, a variable called John. And then the next tuple here will be 5, okay, comma, then you have one more tuple, so a tuple within a tuple, and then this tuple is simply just going to be Peter. So these are the names I've been using, and maybe one of my Indian friends called Ritik. Okay, so I'm going to save this and let's start working with tuples. Now the first thing you can do is concatenate the tuples or join them. So on the next line, on line 4, you can just join the tuples by saying print, okay, A plus B, and then you have to save this. Okay, remember to save, guys. So when you save that and you run your code right here, you see that it joins hello and world together. Now when you've done that, the next statement we want to look at is actually the multiplication operation on tuples as well. So I can easily do just like I did in the string, say 3, right, and do times A. And if I save this, okay, and come back here to run my code once again, I would, let me first clear this, okay, and then I run my code, and you see I get hello being printed 3 times to my console. Now the next thing I want to show you is indexing into tuples. Now if I do print statement and I say A, and then I use my square bracket just like in strings, and I say 0, okay, if I save this and come back here to run my code, you see that I would get the value hello printed out to screen. Okay, so now I want to show you how to index multiple elements in the tuple. Okay, so let me just clear this initial print statement, so I have just a single print statement I'm working with. Now I'll be working with C in this case. Now to index the first element, which is 2, I have to say C of 0, and then I'll save that and come back here, clear this for you so you see it very nicely, and then I run this code once again, and you see the first element C of 0 is actually 2. If I come here and change this to 1, I'll save this once again, and you see that the next element is going to be 3. Now this is going to be 0, 1, 2, and this is going to be 3, and this is going to be 4. So let us see what 4 looks like. So if I say 4 and I save this, right, if I come here and then I clear this once again and run my code, I see that I have a tuple within a tuple. Okay, so how do I index 5, for instance? That's this 5 right here. What I just need to do is say 4, and then I give it another command that says 0. So I'm trying to access a tuple within a tuple in this case. Save this, come back here, I run it, and you see I have 5. What about if I want to index Peter? Okay, I don't want Ritik, I just want Peter. Now what I would do is give it a value. Right now, you know that this is 4 of 0 gives me 5. That means 4 of 1 is going to give me this string. Now to access Peter, I need to do 4 of 1 of 0. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, now when I run this, let me clear this first for you. And when you run this, and you see I'm going to have Peter being accessed. So if I want to access the last value, Ritik, I have to say 4 of 1 of 1. Okay, and I save this. I'll come here and run this again, and you see I have Ritik being accessed right now. So the very last command I'll show you is the replace command. So how do you use the replace command in tuples? So what I have to do is just say print. For example, I want to replace the H with a Bing, just like I did in the string. All I have to do is really say print, and then I'll call the string. So the string is A, and then I'll reference H. Okay, H, A of 0 is going to be H, and then I can now use the dot replace module. Okay, when I use the dot replace module, remember guys, I have to give it what I want to replace, H, and I want to replace that with the word Bing. Okay, if I save this and I come in here to print this like this, so I'll clear this first to give you some space to see what I'm doing, and then I'll print this, and you see that this first print statement of course evaluates to Ritik, the next one evaluates to Bing hello. So that is just a summary of what you can do in tuples. I've been able to show you the use cases for tuples. I've been able to show you why you need tuples as against why you should use string, and I hope you learned something from this video. Make sure you drop a like, drop your comments if you have any, drop your questions if you have any, like, share, and engage with this video. And then in the next video I'll see you where we start to talk about object-oriented programming in Python. Okay, thanks for watching guys. Remember to hit the subscribe and the notification button so you don't miss a thing when we upload the next video. See you in the next one guys. Bye.